We are live. Hello, everyone. Normally we have a little intro, but unfortunately it looks like either I have absolutely ballsed it up, which is the most likely scenario, or there's no one in the background checking up on us as there usually is, Jack or Eddie or someone. But anyway, it is what it is. People, very, very welcome as we add a valued member of the team to the show as well. You know, better late than never. Welcome, Welshmo, as you enter the building. But everyone else, welcome. Everyone else, welcome. Subscribers, viewers, listeners, watchers, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. You are tuned in to another episode of Red Room, where we, Liverpool fans, get together as a panel. We start off as all friends and mates, but we could end up as enemies and foes. It hasn't happened yet, but you never know. The way Liverpool will fluctuate on a weekly basis, you know, it can happen. Emotions run high. How are we, Luke? How's your emotions right now? How's your emotions these days as a Liverpool fan?
You know what? I've chilled out a bit. I think beating Newcastle had a big sort of part to play in that. But you know what? I'm an optimist. I think that's been established. And you know what? We've signed a young centre back. We've just beaten Newcastle. At the minute, I'm not as stressed as I probably should be, but I'm content at the moment as long as things can keep going in the right direction. But I'm all right. I'm happy to be back. It's been a few weeks now, so pleasant.
Pleasant, yeah, he's all right.
He's all right.
We haven't caught up with Scout Smo in a couple of weeks or few weeks. How you doing, Scout Smo? Hope everything is well.
Yeah, I've been AWOL. I can't remember the last time I was on the Red Room. I've missed it. Missed talking to everyone. But yeah, I'm pretty similar to you, to be honest. Like, rather content, not happy, not sad, just in between. Like, it is what it is. I mean, you can be optimistic about a few things for this season. I've still got my eyes on 2 trophies, and we're Liverpool Football Club, and we should always win a trophy, and we're still in 2 competitions. And yeah, just all my happiness lies on those 2 competitions for me.
Yeah, Lola, it seems to be a general consensus so far from the 2 panelists of a season of, I think the word is acceptance, and it's taken us, February now, to kind of accept where we are or where we're likely to be at the end of the season. Are you pretty much the same, or is there more fighting spirit inside you?
Well, there's a word that is strongly associated with our football club, and that is defiance. And I will always be defiant and not accepting of our fate. And just when I was starting to think, here we go, it's another 22, 23, you just write it off to a certain extent and try and see growth where you can. That Newcastle performance really took me by surprise. I just think it was by far our most complete performance of the season. The data reflected that. And then somebody who I very much trust in football, I don't know if you guys are aware of the transfer flow, Mr. Ted Knutson, shouting out another podcast on this, but he's absolutely brilliant, and he's someone I really trust. And he's been trashing us all season. And it was him that said, I think Liverpool have turned a corner, and I think their fans are going to have a lot of fun between now and the end of the season. So I'm defiant, Grizz. I'm not accepting our fate, and I think we've turned a corner.
I'm going to give my opinion after. It's only customary that I go through everyone one by one, and that leads me to Welshmo. How are you feeling? I know you have been feeling very despondent. You started off when I met you as one of the most positive Liverpool fans that I know. Enthusiastic. I don't know about defiant, but he was very, very upwardly beat vibes about Liverpool. In the last 2 months, I've slowly seen a decline in that. Welshmo, where are you February?
Confused, I would say, is the best word. First of all, shout out to Lewis and Mo. I haven't seen you for a minute. Good to see you both. Lola, we saw each other last week. But yeah, it's good to see you both back. Confused, Chris. I second everything that everyone says. But also from my perspective, that Newcastle performance, where's that been all season? That's the first confusion. Second confusion is that wasn't a slot team performance for me. That was more like a Klopp team performance. So did the players grab the scruff of the neck and say to themselves, do you know what? You know, we might fall behind United and Chelsea if we don't back up ideas. Let's play the way we're used to. I don't know. I'm just thrown out there. That's why I'm confused. I'm confused about this Roundtable release and interview. I'm confused about not assigning Gahey, but then getting Xhaka. I'm just confused. And I'm sure we're going to chop it all up in the next hour.
We are. You've actually done a brilliant, easy task for me to segue into probably letting the people know about the agenda. You've covered it all there. You're confused. There's acceptance from Lou and Mo, and Lola's defiant. We're going to tuck into the Newcastle performance. We're going to tuck into the Knights of the Round Table discussion that was on the Liverpool YouTube channel, I believe, and we'll tuck into the transfer window and if that's confusing and why was that so confusing. I guess we'll start off with the Knights of the Round Table. Lou, Liverpool released. I think they done one similar when I remember Klopp was on it when we won the title. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I can't remember the full cast. It was, but it was.
They did one with Robbo as well. I remember that one.
Yeah. So there is a series of these. This one was quite high caliber cast. You're talking the football director, Billy Hogan, and Arne. People the cynics will talk about the timing the day after the transfer window, but it's not like as though this was recorded the day before. This is obviously in the pipe works and sort of released when it was released. Did you watch it? How did you find it? Any messages? Did you read anything into it?
I mean, if you didn't read into it, I think you'd be sort of not naive, but there's a lot of things in there that you can look at and think, right, there's a deeper meaning to that, or that means two things. And I like bullet pointed a good few things. And first off, I think Mo touched on it before we came on. Actually, it does feel very much like a sort of a PR stunt to a degree, because let's face it, this has been filmed in advance. We know that, but in the same breath, it's just so conveniently timed with all the reports coming out that Hughes and Slot apparently didn't get on. You know, all this debacle with transfers, Xhaka coming in but was missing on Gahey, not addressing the defensive issues immediately. The turmoil around Slot's tenure at Liverpool at the moment, like this is perfectly timed, and it comes as well just after an amazing win, which I think really does sort of lean into it that bit more. If it had come after the Forest loss, for example, or if it came after the Leeds draw, people would have been less accepting about it. But coming off of the back of a 4-1 win against Newcastle, it just feels all so perfectly timed. But there were things from it I liked. There were things from it I didn't like. I did, to be fair, I did enjoy seeing that harmony. Now, whether people think that's sort of all orchestrated or put on, I don't know, but I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to the whole sort of, right, we're a sustainable model. We are planning for the mid to long term. There's a plan in place. You know, we trust each other. I get all that. But in the same breath, it seemed as though it was like Slot was there, and credit to him, he's got balls, basically sitting in front of his employers and saying, right, this is why I should still be in this job. This is why I think I've done a good job. It felt very much like they were sort of explaining why things have gone wrong to a degree. And I think this mantra, this message that came out where Slot said, look, I would rather see us play enjoyable football. I don't want us to play boring football. It just feels so tailored to what the biggest criticisms around them are at the moment. So it was an interesting insight to watch, but it did sort of feel very much as though, right, things seem bad, but they could be much worse. This is what we're doing to try and improve it, which to a degree I like, but it does feel very sort of reactionary to everything that's been going on in the media. And I'm hoping that this doesn't become the new thing. I would rather the performances speak for themselves more so than the sporting director and the manager having to come out and do a round table to explain why situations are bad and what the plan is. I'd rather the performances speak for themselves and allow us to see what the improvements are. I would rather see a team display that shows us that things are going in the right direction more so than Billy Hogan coming out and saying, well, we're a sustainable business model. We're going to sort of appease the fans by saying that we were able to keep you in Anfield and we've expanded it and, we've signed these players and just let the performances speak for themselves, Sorry, last thing on it. I did like that they did say, right, the manager controls the tactics and the team. So we're not very much falling into that Chelsea bracket of the ownership has some sort of input in what the starting 11 is, like we've been seeing recently with Rafinha and Maresca, who said so himself. So a very mixed reaction to the whole thing, to be honest. But it didn't do anything to majorly offend me or turn me off from anyone in particular, if you get what I'm saying.
No, fair enough. A good opening view of it all. The whole purpose of having the comments and chat open is we have a free-for-all, people giving their opinions and what they thought of the different topics that we're going to talk about. And that's the beauty of having a panel as well. Nobody likes a boring panel where agreements are just everyone's nodding and agreeing. And I have a feeling, vaguely knowing some of your views on football and having listened and watched and followed you on your platforms, I think there's going to be a couple of different opinions on this panel because I can see the reactions of some as we're talking. I'm going to come to you, Scouse Schmo, because I know you're very, I don't know, you might disagree, but I think you're quite pro ownership and model and structure. What did you make of the whole thing? Are you with Lou in terms of you thought, or some people think it's a PR stunt, or do you think no, it was pleasant and it was invaluable?
For me, it was all PR, propaganda, scripted, just nonsense. I think the one point that Lou made, which was perfect, they brought that out just after the Newcastle game. Now think about it, this is pre-recorded. They could have dropped this at any given moment. And I'll ask the whole panel the question, when was the last time you seen our sporting director come out on a video and talk about the ongoing affairs? Doesn't happen. They had to come out and talk about why this squad's so imbalanced and try and give the Liverpool fans some hope about the future and that they've got good connection, a good relationship. I'll be honest with you, I watched like the first half of it or whatever, like about 15 minutes or so into it, and I just switched it off because I thought, this is just, what am I learning from this? Genuinely, it's just them trying to feed us like, oh, don't worry about this season. We're building, we're working hard together. Slot's the man for us. Richard Hughes has got a plan in terms of the players he wants to get in. Billy Hogan and FSG and everyone's on board. We're working in unison. And I think one word that they said was synergy. We're working in a synergy team. I was just like, what is this PR propaganda stuff I'm listening to? I want to see results on the pitch. I don't want to hear about you, man, and what you are doing, because this is very rare. Like, can anyone remember Michael Edwards ever coming out and doing an interview ever? Or
there's like no pictures of him anywhere.
I don't even know what he looked like. Yeah, I haven't.
Genuinely, he doesn't exist. And even Richard Hughes, to be fair, I think the only time we've ever seen him, or even Billy Hogan, to be fair, is like when something big happens, like Klopp's left or Slot's the new manager or etc. Like something quite significant. The timing of it was strange, like after the Newcastle game, and it didn't really fill me with anything. Like, it was just more a PR exercise. I'm not one to fall for these PR exercises. I will believe what my eyes see on the pitch and where the team's heading and what trajectory it's heading in terms of the performances. If we can continue to play like the way that we did against Newcastle, then okay. But the thing is, I've seen that Newcastle performance so many times this season. How many false flags have we seen, lads? And Lola, how many false flags have we seen? Too many. And then the next game we just get slapped up. Albeit the next game's against City, and maybe that might be in our favour because the way they will play against us. But then next week we're playing against Sunderland. What are we going to do then? Oh, we won like 3 games in a row and then we got beat by Sunderland away at the Stadium of Light. I just want to see some consistency in this team. I want to see what happens going forwards in terms of like why we've signed this Jeremy Jacquet. Obviously, he's going to be a fantastic football player. Like, I trust this board. Like, genuinely, I trust Michael Edwards' judgments and Richard Hughes. The signings that they made in the summer speaks volumes for Richard Hughes. Isaac, big deal to make. Ekitike, I love one that was huge. Wirtz. And even if you look at Kirkez, I wasn't his biggest fan at the beginning, but he shut me up recently. All our signings have been good, is basically what I say. Yeah, all of these signings have been good, even Frimpong, who hasn't played much at right back, but he's been good. So I can trust them in terms of the players that they're going to get. But I just want to see where we head over the next 6 months. I don't want them to sit around on a round table telling us all will be good. Show me that it will be good.
Lola?
I disagree, guys. Alan, you know, I really disagree, because I think all this time we've been slagging Slot, and rightly so at times. You know, when he comes out and complains about long balls and low blocks, it's very difficult not to be frustrated when week after week we're seeing the same issues. But, you know, he doesn't control the transfers. He has a say in the transfers and he doesn't control them. So we're talking about the imbalanced squad, and the people that are responsible for that, you know, are not the ones that are getting the butt of the criticism, where Slot is facing press conferences game after game, week after week, where he's having to explain other people's decisions. So for one, I'm delighted to see Richard Hughes in front of the camera, even if we think it was a PR stunt, which, you know, I agree with you. It's obviously designed to represent the club in a good light, but like, good that he's taking accountability, good that he's in front of the camera, good that he's speaking, good that we're getting the chance to see the relationship. So, you know, and of course, when they drop it and what they talk about is all going to be closely guarded, but that doesn't mean that it's a waste or not a good thing that they've done it. I think we need more accountability for these figures in the boardroom. And in Spain, for example, France, Germany, it's much more common that you see the sporting directors talking in the press. And I think that's important. I think it's misdirected of us at times to direct all our frustration towards Slot, which he's just the guy that's there. He's the one answering the questions. So I was very, very glad to see that. And then the other thing that really kind of got me in a more positive mindset was the Jacquet thing. I've never been Gahey's biggest fan. He is 6 foot. He's not an aerially dominant centre-back. I felt watching the Spurs game that you suddenly saw someone who is very used to being in a back three and not defending big spaces. And then suddenly when he's being asked to cover big spaces, he looks exposed. I don't think he was the one for us. I think it was a market opportunity in the summer. And yes, I would have liked to have seen us strengthen now. But the Jacquet deal, that is what Liverpool do really well. They find the next Ibu Konate. They find the next Van Dijk. And that is what, by all accounts, and what the data says Jacquet is. And then you're in a situation where Chelsea think they've got him. And all window we're hearing Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea. And then at the last minute, we come in and we hear it's only Liverpool. So I think seeing Richard Hughes come out and be accountable, and seeing us go decisively for Jacquet in a way that looks like we've got a plan for not just the next 6 months, but the next 6 years of Liverpool Football Club, gives me confidence that, look, it's frustrating. Sometimes they are a bit passive, but my God, would I prefer to have this lot in charge than any of the clowns at Man United, Chelsea, or even boring FC around the corner at Arsenal. So I'm not going to knock it. I know what you guys mean. It was fluffy, but it's better that they're out there speaking than hiding. That's my thoughts.
Walshmore?
I agree and disagree with Lola. I'm on Camp Mo. I am. Everything that you said is spot on. Lola, to offer you a rebuttal, yes, I agree that I think we should see more sporting directors come out and take responsibility. However, what did he take responsibility for? What questions were asked to him? Nothing that we want to know. It was all boardroom and trying to douse fires of their relationships, and everything's cozy between me and Slot and the backroom staff. As fans, I'm speaking for myself. I don't care about that. I care about what happens on the football pitch. The biggest test for me is the eye test and how my football club is playing. So it was just, but it's not negativity from me. I get it. It was a PR piece. I understand why they tried to do it. I understand the timing of it. That's FSG historically have done this throughout their tenure at Liverpool, time things to G up the crowd, gather momentum, to keep that momentum going. So I get it, but I just don't agree with it at all. What I wanted to get addressed wasn't addressed. Why didn't we sign Gahey? What's the future? Look, where's the future planning with VVD? X, Y, and Z, what happened with the striker scenario with Luis Diaz? What happened there? Because something happened there. Why didn't we get a replacement? Was the plan really to give Rio minutes, which he hasn't got? So many questions. There's loads more I had, but wasn't answered that I would have liked the sporting director to come out and answer, but he didn't. It was all scripted. It was all PR, and it was all a bit fake for me. And look, I get it. Fans will agree it's positive, great, but it didn't answer what I wanted to see. it felt like an episode of Traitors, and Billy Hogan was going to write down Slot's name on a card and go, "You're out." And every time Billy Hogan said football as well, I just automatically thought American football because he had an American accent. So it just, again, I just been a confused person all week. I'm remaining confused.
No, doesn't the Jacquet signing explain not signing Gay?
Yes, but where's our help now? It's kind of contradicting. They've come out backing Slot, but they haven't backed him where we need it on the pitch. We need defensive reinforcements. We're one injury away. We're already playing midfielders in and right back. What happens if that midfielder, I don't want to say his name, but what happens if he picks up an injury? Then our midfield becomes weak. So we haven't addressed key issues. And look, we've still got a chance of turning this season into an amazing season. Not just Champions League, but in the league, we can still catch a Villa, I think. If we even had those points with the last minute goals we conceded, we'd be like 3 or 4 points off the top. So I think...
Well, Shmuel, I was going to say, history shows us that whenever we have a season like this, they seem to just write it off in a way. Not write it off per se, but they seem to consolidate in the summer and then build again. And then we always notice the season after. So if you think the season we won the league in 1920, the season after with Virgil's ACL, we had no centre-halves and Reece Williams and Matt Phillips. That whole season, in January, we were first. We could have pushed on in that January, signed players and potentially won the league. We never.
This is my biggest problem.
But then what happened the season after? What happened the season after?
We're digressing. We'll talk about the transfer window. I just want to give my opinion as the fifth member of the panel, because at the moment it seemed like Lewis is immune to it. He was not offended or not overly happy about it. Neutral position. Lola enjoyed it and has a positive outlook on it. And the two moles are very anti it. I am in the Lola camp. I felt good after watching it. I didn't have any problem with anything that they said. I didn't expect to answer Mo's questions, the two Mo's. I didn't expect answers or questions to my answers to my questions, because that wasn't the purpose of this. This wasn't a question and answer session, guys. I don't know why you expected your answers of transfers to be... Okay, Mo. Okay, what's Mo?
Yeah, the pitch is what I was saying.
There's going to be topics that fans want, but this has got nothing to do with topics or current. This is an overall view. You have to remember what the purpose of this was. Of course, it's PR. Let's not kid ourselves. Of course, it's PR, because that's what the purpose of a YouTube channel is, to promote yourselves in a good light. We all have our platforms. That's what we all do content or talk about. Sort of, project our opinions in a good light, in our way of thinking. I didn't feel. I'm a grown-ass man. I've seen everything. I know it's scripted to a certain degree. And I know it's about creating bonds and feeling good about themselves, and sort of all the rumors and circulating stories about he doesn't get on, he's got no problem. And they had to sort of put that out there. I'm critical of it. I'm not praising it. I felt good after watching it, some of those pictures and some of those memories. And I genuinely believe we have probably one of the best ownership models in Europe. And this was the ownership model telling us about how they operate and how they plan to operate. And it's frustrating as a fan who watches Man City operate the way they do, or PSG, or whoever the other clubs, flashing money left, right, and centre. It's not always about that. It's literally not always about that. We're so transfixed with just transfers. Just transfers. A successful club has to have a connect from the top to bottom. And that's what they tried to portray. It may not be there. I agree there's a disconnect. But they tried to portray that there's a connection from the top to bottom still and moving forward. And, fair play. But listen, hey, at the end of the day, we all have different opinions and we all are embroiled in our own, whether we like to accept it or not, agendas and narratives and way of looking at our football club.